Welcome to the highlights of a waterlogged and slightly murky day, the second day of this second Cornhill Test match at Lord's. They started play under leaden skies and they only got through a quarter of an hour in which 4 runs were scored to take the score along to 195 for 4. Then they had to go off the field and we lost 138 minutes in all. We pick up play now after lunch being taken early. Dennis Lilly's the bowler, John Embury is taking strike, and it's 198 for 4. In the commentary box with me is Tom Graveney. And up comes the 200 for England, with a loss of 4 wickets having been put into bat in this second Cornhill Test match. 27 to Willie, and Embury has now gone on to 5. Well, that's all rather surprising. I'd have thought the chance of the ball being wet, the shine taken off, would stop Kim Hughes taking the new ball, but there we are. We live in different times these days, and he's tossed the new ball to his quick bowler. Here's Geoff Lawson now coming in to bowl the first over with this second new ball. And there's one that'll pick up a bit of moisture in beating Lilly. A fine shot.
And nicely timed stroke this by Peter Willie.
Bit 2 there. Can use the fielder. Great take.
I thought that might happen. He signalled a wide.
And I doubt if it really needed all the consideration he gave it either. It was about 1.5.
Here it goes, and to reach that, you certainly need a long handle. What a magnificent effort by Rod Marsh there.
Safe, and what an extraordinary stroke. Back of the bat, I should think.
And this game of cricket, sideways on game. It's not quite sideways on. I should think it hit the outside edge and went over second slip.
Too much down leg side, particularly at this reduced pace. Rather a sloppy sort of over. That one, it goes down as buys against Rodney Marsh, but his West Australian teammate can take part of the blame for that. Shot and well fielded. Over Chapel. Well, might be something wrong with his leg, but there's nothing wrong with the voice. There's a big shout, that one. And a certain amount of disappointment as well. Four more. Total goes to 227 now. Very valuable, just as good as a smash through the covers or straight down the ground. Plays that shot so well. I wouldn't say that Lilly's overjoyed about that. The slide was quite unnecessary from John Dyson. It was a big effort, in fact, but he just misjudged it and could have picked it up, I suspect, in his right hand had he not bothered to slide for it. That's very close, that one. I'd just have been getting a little bit forward. Disappointment, disillusionment, frustration. It's all there for Terry Alderman.
And a good shout, this. Playing round it, perhaps just going down the leg side.
Good shot. Nice timing off the back foot there. And he was able to take a little bit of the pace of it, but still 3 there to Peter Willey. Good cricket all round with a fine return from the Australian skipper.
Alderman to Willey, and he wasn't too pleased with that shot. And the 50 partnership coming as the ball races away for 2. And a great round of applause as well for Peter Willey's 50. And that'll be 4, not where he was playing it, but they all count. An important moment this in the England innings, with Peter Willey beginning to play really well. And that's another 4 and almost a chance. So Willey picks up 8 runs in 2 balls, but really all the credit belongs to the bowler Terry Alderman. Lilly, he tried to bowl a slow off spinner at him. Embury just clips it away for a couple. The England night watchman has been in now for 1 hour and 38 for 18. And I suppose in the overall concept of the game, he's beginning to outlive his purpose a bit. Need to get some of the stroke-making batsmen in. .250 up. Majestic stroke. So strong in the arm, Willey.
Be no better shot in this play during this match. Superb, short. Just watch his right foot come right over the top of the ball, taking his body side on and absolutely in perfect position. It's a shot which seems to have gone out of fashion, but fortunately Willey is one of those men who can play it superbly.
The coats are starting to go on again.
This time, good delivery from Lawson. The ball short, getting up quite high. Probably as much life as we've seen today so far.
The umpires are going to have a look at the light now and asking the batsmen, and off they go. Just a few drops of rain, nothing very special. The light not particularly good here at Lord's, and so off they go again.
So they took an early tee, 260 for 4, with Willie 64 not out, Embury 22 not out. Some great strokes from Peter Willie, particularly on the offside, square of the wicket. I thought he played really well today, and that innings will have done him a world of good for his future in Test match cricket. Embury, you can't do much better as a night watchman than make 22 not out and take up a lot of time. 43 minutes the tea interval was extended to with the rain and bad light. We pick up play now in the 3rd over after tea. Terry Alderman is the bowler. Peter Willie is taking strike. 4 runs have been added to take the total on to 264. Here's Peter Walker, and with him is Bob Simpson.
Alderman. And that might be out, and that's a miscatch. Alan Border at second slip puts down Peter Willie at 68 with a total on 264. And big disappointment for Terry Alderman there, who's bowled so well, labouring under this hamstring strain. And that really was a chance that Australia should have fastened onto. Oh, that was a beautiful ball, and there's an appeal. Terry Alderman just can't believe his luck.
This ball cutting back up the hill, the way the other's been going down the hill. This one has come in very, very sharply. I wonder, in fact, whether it may not have even just brushed the stumps, and occasionally that happens, and you get a noise of the sound as though it's hitting the edge of the bat.
And the game has come to something of a stalemate, with Alderman and Lawson bowling straight and true, and Willie and Embury replying in kind. Nothing much happening. And that's 1, maybe 2, maybe... Oh, a magnificent stop on the boundary. And applause all round for Dyson. A superb diving stop which saved a certain 4 and cut it down to 2. And that's 4 runs. Not a chance over the outstretched hands of Graham Wood at first slip. These two, Willie and Embury, have put on 93. And squirted away for 4. And so Peter Willie moves into the 80s, and it's also his highest score of the season so far. Oh, and that's a magnificent catch by Alan Border. That really is. Straight out of the hands of first slip, diving away to his left. And Peter Willie is out for 82. And Terry Alderman gets his due rewards. But what a wonderful catch. The crowd rising to Peter Willie, who's taken on the role of sheet anchor in this innings. Looking on the way to his 3rd Test 100. And just when he had it in his sights, Alderman produces a good ball, and Alan Border catches a wonderful one at second slip. 97, Embury and Willie put on. And this is Bob Woolmer with his first scoring stroke since coming out to bat, and turning him square for 4. And it's moved on now to 290 for 5 after being put in by Australia yesterday at 11:30. Dennis Lilly, who feels he's got time on his hands down there at Fine Lake, trying to sign a couple of autographs. Whoops, and that's anywhere. In fact, that's gone for 2 off the shoulder of the bat down to Dennis Lilly. Yet another short run from Lawson. And they're going for 2. This could easily be a run out. Must be, surely. And he's out. Embury's run out. A lovely throw from Dennis Lilly, and that was a risky single because Embury looked at Lilly as Lilly was on the point of throwing and then called Bob Woolmer for the second.
And this is how it all happened. Quite a decent leg glance there. But really, absolute suicide. Dennis Lilly has the ball in his hand before John Embury turns to take the second. And there it is, Rodney Marsh, well out, 2 yards out. Very comfortable run out. And there's the man of the moment, Ian Botham.
Way there behind square leg out on the boundary is Ray Bright. He's gone right back on the fence now. 2 men behind square out on the boundary. He's specifically there for the hook shot, the lofted hook. And that's close. He's got him. Lawson has dismissed the England captain. And things could hardly be going worse for Ian Botham at the moment. LBW to Geoff Lawson on the forward stroke, without scoring, 293 for 7, England. And Lawson has now picked up 4 wickets. Stream for a catch there, and it's out. Taylor caught it short leg by Hughes off Lawson. Lawson's 5th wicket, and what a good performance from the big fellow. Forcing Taylor to play there. Another wicket made into Lawson. 5 for 76 now, and it's 293 for 8. Geoff Lawson, the hero of the Australian attack. 4 bowlers there. Alderman injured yesterday, but back on the field today and taking 1 wicket. Lilly, none for 102. Lawson, 5 for 76, and Bright, 1 for 31. Shot by Bob Woolmer. Very good on the offside. Nice square driver and cover driver.
Beautiful stroke this from Bob Woolmer. Foot to the pitch of the ball. Nicely through there. And Terry Alderman hasn't bowled many half volleys. That's one of the very few.
Marsh. And Palmer has, umpire Palmer has given Woolmer out. It looked to me as though it came off the glove rather than the forearm.
And a very good bounce of this. Bob Woolmer gets inside it, but it's a little bit quick onto it. And Rodney Marsh takes a simple lob catch. That's quite an England collapse.
Bob Willis preparing to face Geoff Lawson. 4 runs to start with. Up comes the 300 for England. Sunshine through now. Here's Lawson. Good running. Lawson, Dyson, in fact, picking up rather awkwardly down there and having to change stride before he could throw. Lilly out at deep mid-off. This This is Alderman's chance, bowling against Bob Willis. As against that, Bob Willis has occasionally hit some mighty blows. With a studied defence or flailing bat, which just occasionally produces some valuable runs. Nothing elegant about it. Perhaps that did him an injustice. It was elegant enough. 307 for 9. Dennis Lilly is coming in at deep mid-off, looking to save the single. Just one ball to go.
Going for the big one. A little inside edge. Definitely a touch of Sunday League there.
311 for 9. 7 to Dilly, 5 to Willis. So Lawson to Willis. And that's the end of the innings. 311 all out. Willis caught wood, bowled Lawson for 5. Dilly remained 7 not out. And England lost their last 6 wickets for only 27 runs. Fine performance from Geoff Lawson. 43.1 overs, 14 maidens, 7 for 81. Had 3 wickets yesterday, 3 for 40 from 26 overs. So today he bowled 17 overs and took 4 for 41. In all, 7 for 81 in 43.1 overs and 14 maidens. A great debut at Lord's for Geoff Lawson. 311 in all for England, and I don't think Ian Botham will be too pleased at that. Peter Willey, 82, very good innings, and I sensed he probably threw it away in the end, playing strokes he wouldn't normally play just to keep the scoring moving along. Embury, 31, taking a risk on Lilly's arm, even though he was signing autographs down at long leg. Botham, no score. Can anything else go wrong for the England captain? Well, it did actually later in the day. Bob Taylor, no score. Dilly not out 7, and the last man out, Willis, for 5. The hero for the Australians was Geoff Lawson, 7 for 81 from 43.1 overs and 14 maidens. Alderman, 1 for 79, and Raymond Bright, 1 for 31. Well, Bob Willis bowled the first over of the Australian innings. Dilly, the second, coming in from the nursery end. Taking strike to him now is John Dyson, and 4 runs are on the board for the Australians.
And that'll see Dyson off the mark. Gower's the man in pursuit, and it's 3 runs. Eleven tests so far, Graham Dilly. 31, and he certainly didn't lack anything by comparison with Michael Holding and the rest in the West Indies during the winter. And rather like Jimmy Connors at Wimbledon yesterday, it looks like they've been stirring Graham Dilly up in the dressing room. They might have fed him a bit of raw meat, because he's really in full cry here, and this is first over.
This time the ball pitching but cutting away towards the leg, and I would have thought also perhaps a little bit too high, going down the slope there, and I think probably missing and being over the top of leg stump.
That's a magnificent shot, which Bob Willis somehow parries. Just as well he got a hand to that, Bob. It could have KO'd him. And it's 2 runs. I don't think he spotted that out of the background too well. And an ex-goalkeeper's reflexes were very much in the fore there.
Helmets for deep fine leg fieldsmen these days.
So the end of 2 overs, Australia 10 for 2, 301 runs behind England's first innings total of 311. The point you were making, Bobby, when Australia were fielding about the slip field as being sort of staggered is quite interesting, as the umpires confer on the light. And to our eye from here, high up in the Warner stand, it doesn't seem to be any worse now than it was perhaps when they started play just after tea.
Certainly a good even light at present, and while the sun's not out, the umpires have decided they should go off.
They asked the Australian batsmen for their view, and understandably they didn't want to continue, and so off we go. And Ian Botham is amazed at that. He's just talking to Ken Palmer, the umpire. He's asking for some clarification on just how dark it is from umpire Palmer. And they're old Somerset colleagues, these two.
Seeing Botham here, obviously trying to seek a clarification either on the rule or the light reading or something, but just looking down over the ground, it does seem to me that the light is reasonably good, and I've certainly played in darker situations, I think, in England.
Well, that was the voice of former Australian captain Bob Simpson. The Australians finishing the day very relieved, I should think, at 10 for no wicket. Wood was on 5 and Dyson 3. With me is Bob Simpson at the moment, and we might just expand on those curious happenings towards the end of the day. Bob, you said you've batted over here on several occasions in darker conditions than this?
Yes, I think so. Even before lunch on the first day of a test match, I can remember once at the Oval being much darker, but it's always difficult, I think, at this time of day, late in the afternoon, a change of innings, a new ball on, and the umpires tend to give a light appeal more than they would if the team who'd batted most of the day was still there.
What about the light meters? They came into play. We saw Ian Botham definitely unpleased, I would think, about what was going on, no matter what the light meter showed. Do you think they should just be a guide, or should there be an arbitrary thing?
Oh, definitely just a guide only. I think that they should say at certain grounds around the country, once it gets below a certain level, then they should consider whether they should go off. But it should also be determined, I believe, by the general surrounds and the conditions at the time. And certainly this afternoon I felt it was a nice soft light and wouldn't have been a bad one to bat in.
Yes, well, I'm very keen on the light meters, and I'm inclined to look on them as an arbitrary thing. I think that the batting side could have some complaint if the reading got down below a certain point, let's say 2.8, as it was probably down below today. They might well want to know why they weren't off the field. But there was a time when the sun came out and the umpires didn't, and that, I think, was a bit of a problem with the crowd here, who showed their displeasure a little later on in the evening. If the sun was out, they wanted to know why the umpires weren't out there in the centre. I think perhaps they had a valid point.
Yes, they did, and particularly when the umpires were in the pavilion, taking their light reading actually in the pavilion, which I would imagine be very different to what it would read from the centre.
Yes, perhaps we need Patrick Eager or someone like that to talk to us about photography and light, but certainly it was a very, very curious happening here this afternoon, and it was almost impossible to understand why the umpires should be in the pavilion when all the action, or perhaps the lack of action you might call it, was going on out in the centre. So it was an interesting day, but in many ways quite a sad one. So much time lost because of rain and then bad light towards the end. We leave you with one of the modern inventions of cricket. We've had helmets and all sorts of other things coming into the game in recent times. Here's the one that caused the consternation at Lord's today.
It's Test match history.